A black man pulls a Rolls-Royce into a driveway. His driveway. His car. Gerald Patterson dials 911. A black man is stealing a Rolls-Royce, 852 Briarwood Lane. Now! Miles steps out. Sir, I live... Shut up, thief! Gerald's face twists. You people don't belong here. A black man in a Rolls-Royce? In this neighborhood? You're either a thief or a drug dealer. Which is it? Sandra screams. He's robbing us! Richard blocks the driveway. Don't move, boy. Neighbors flood the lawn. Phones out. Live streaming. Laughing. Look at him pretending it's his. This is what happens when they move in. 15,000 watching. No one asks his name. No one checks the mailbox. Just another black man. Wrong car, wrong street, wrong skin. Miles stands still, says nothing, because in 22 minutes, every person here will learn exactly who they called a thief. In 14 days, they'll lose everything. Some mistakes can't be undone. The afternoon sun catches the hood of a $450,000 car, and behind a curtain, a hand reaches for a phone. Miles Harrison parks the Rolls-Royce Cullinan in his garage the way he's done 100 times before. Engine off. Deep breath. Home. The July heat presses against the windshield. Georgia summers don't apologize. Miles loosens his tie, the same tie he wore through 3 investor meetings in San Francisco. The deal closed. 18 months of work, finally done. He's 38 years old, founder and CEO of Harrison FinTech. $15 million in annual revenue, 60 employees who depend on his decisions. Atlanta Business Chronicle named him one of their 40 under 40 2 years ago. The plaque hangs in his office downtown, next to another one he values more. That second plaque reads, Community Partner of the Year, Briarwood Police Foundation, 2023. Miles Harrison has donated $500,000 to local law enforcement over 3 years. Youth basketball leagues, the community center on 5th Street. Officer wellness programs. He believes in building bridges. He believes in showing up. What he doesn't advertise, his seat on the board of Whitfield Industries. Whitfield manufactures precision components for aerospace and defense. 3,000 employees. Headquarters 40 minutes from this driveway. Miles joined the board 5 years ago after helping them navigate a PR crisis. They owe him. They remember. His cufflinks catch the garage light. Small detail. Gold, with the Whitfield logo. A 10-year board service gift. He wears them to important meetings. Today, they're just habit. The house cost $1.6 million 3 years ago. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a kitchen Camille designed herself. Miles and his wife are one of 2 black families in Briarwood Estate's 89 households. They knew the math when they moved in. They made their choice anyway. Inside, the smart home system hums quietly. Ring doorbell at the front, cameras covering the driveway. Camille insisted after a package went missing their first month. Miles thought it was overkill. Today, that doorbell will capture everything. 4K video, crystal audio, cloud backup automatic. His phone buzzes. Text from Camille. At Mom's with Zoe, back by dinner. Rest up, love you. Miles smiles. Rest sounds perfect. Through the garage's side window, he notices movement. The neighbor across the street, older man, white hair, always watching. Gerald Patterson. Retired something or other. 31 years in the neighborhood, according to the HOA welcome packet. He runs the community watch, very involved. Miles has lived here 3 years. Gerald has never waved, never introduced himself, never acknowledged Miles exists except to stare. Today, Gerald stands at his window, phone in hand. Miles doesn't think much of it. Old guys and their habits. He grabs his suitcase from the trunk. The leather handles feel familiar. The crunch of gravel under his shoes sounds like home. 2 houses down, a young guy, Trevor Hayes, 28, always filming something for the internet, waves from his lawn. Miles waves back. Nice kid. Harmless. Somewhere in the distance, a lawnmower hums. Sprinklers hiss across manicured grass. A dog barks once, then stops. Briarwood Estates. Peaceful, expensive, safe. Miles rolls his suitcase toward the door that leads into his kitchen. His kitchen in his house that he owns. He doesn't see Gerald Patterson punch 3 numbers into his phone. He doesn't hear the words, 911? Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious person. The call connects at 3:42 p.m. In 11 minutes, 4 officers will arrive. In 23 minutes, Gerald Patterson will wish he'd never picked up the phone. Gerald Patterson has watched this street for 31 years. He knows every car, every routine, every face that belongs. The black man with the Rolls-Royce does not belong. Gerald is certain. He stands at his window, phone pressed to his ear, voice steady with conviction. 911? Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious person. Black male, late 30s, just pulled a Rolls-Royce into 852 Briarwood Lane. There's no way that car is his. Probably stolen. He's going into the garage now. You need to send someone quick. The dispatcher asks clarifying questions. Gerald answers with impatience. I've lived here 31 years. I know what doesn't fit. Just send someone. He hangs up, satisfied. But Gerald Patterson is nothing if not thorough. He pulls up Richard Thornton's number. Neighbor, 2 doors down, sales VP at a tech company, reliable. A fellow watcher. Richard, look outside, 852, the black guy with the rolls. I just called the cops. Richard Thornton, 55, peers through his blinds. He sees what Gerald sees. Expensive car, black man, doesn't compute. I'll call too, Richard says. Confirm it. Second 911 call. Logged at 3:44 p.m. Hi, I'm calling to confirm a report that was just made. The suspicious vehicle at 852 Briarwood Lane? I can see him too. Definitely doesn't look right. You should hurry. 2 calls. 2 concerned citizens. Protecting their community. Sandra Wells appears next. 48, local realtor, walking her designer dog. Gerald waves her over. Sandra, we've got a situation. Sandra looks toward 852. Her eyes widen. Oh my God, in our neighborhood? She doesn't call 911. She does something worse. She positions herself across the street, visible, watching, judging. She pulls out her phone and texts 3 neighbors. Someone's breaking into 852. Police coming. 3 neighbors, 3 decisions, a coalition of assumption. Gerald feels good about this, righteous even. This is what community watch means. This is vigilance. While waiting, he chats with Richard, who's wandered over. My son Brian's doing well, Gerald mentions, filling time. Corporate job, good company. Whitfield Industries. Whitfield, Richard nods. Solid company, good benefits. 20 years there myself before I retired. Pension's comfortable. Gerald has no idea that the man in the garage, the man he just reported as a thief, sits on Whitfield's board of directors. Inside 852 Briarwood Lane, Miles Harrison is oblivious. He's texting Camille. Home, gonna shower. See you in a few hours. Then he hears tires on asphalt. Fast. Multiple vehicles. He looks out the garage window. 2 police cruisers, 4 officers. No sirens. Tactical approach. Hands near holsters. Sir, step out of the garage. Hands where we can see them. Miles freezes. Processes. Understands. He steps out slowly, hands raised. Suitcase forgotten. Officers, this is my home. I live here. Officer Derek Bradley, badge number 4412, keeps his hand on his weapon. Young. Nervous. We received multiple calls about a stolen vehicle, sir. Step away from the car. Multiple? Miles' eyes scan the street. Gerald on his lawn, arms crossed. Richard nearby, nodding. Sandra across the street, phone out, recording for her text chain. 3 neighbors. Watching. Waiting for validation. Sandra's voice carries, "That's not his car. I've never seen him before." Miles keeps his voice level. "Ma'am, I've lived here 3 years. I would have remembered." She wouldn't have. She's never looked. Trevor Hayes, the young neighbor with the content habit, has appeared on his lawn. Phone up. Camera rolling. Yo, something's happening on my street, he murmurs into his live stream. 200 viewers. Climbing. Officer Bradley takes a step forward. Sir, we're going to need to see some identification. Miles nods slowly. My wallet is in my back pocket. I'm going to reach for it. Slowly. His hand moves, and Sergeant Morrison steps out of the second cruiser. Sergeant Morrison looks at Miles Harrison, stops cold. His face changes, and Gerald Patterson's perfect Saturday is about to become his worst nightmare. Sergeant Morrison is 45 years old, 22 years on the force. He's met a lot of people in Briarwood County. He's met Miles Harrison. Wait, Morrison's voice cuts through the tension. Mr. Harrison? Miles Harrison? Officer Bradley's hand hovers near his holster. Sarge? Stand down. Morrison's tone leaves no room for debate. Now. Bradley hesitates. We got 2 separate calls. I know who this is. Morrison is already moving, posture shifting from tactical to apologetic. Mr. Harrison, sir, I am so sorry about this. Gerald Patterson watches from his lawn. He can't hear the words, but he sees the body language transform. Officers who arrived with hands on weapons are now deferential, almost embarrassed. Something is wrong. Something Gerald didn't anticipate. Morrison speaks quietly to Bradley. This is Miles Harrison. Harrison FinTech. The community center on 5th Street. The Youth Basketball League. Bradley's face changes. Recognition flooding in. Morrison continues. He's donated more to this department than everyone on this street combined. Gerald approaches, confident, still righteous. Officers, thank you for responding so quickly. I knew something was off about... Morrison turns. His expression is ice. Sir, you called police on a man standing in his own driveway. I didn't know... You didn't ask. Silence. Gerald's mouth works, but nothing comes out. Miles speaks. Voice calm, controlled, quiet power. Officer, I have my license, registration, and house deed inside. Would you like to verify? Morrison shakes his head. That won't be necessary, Mr. Harrison. We're done here. He turns to Bradley. Apologize to Mr. Harrison. Bradley straightens. Sir, I'm sorry. We were just responding to... Miles holds up a hand. I know. You were doing your job. His eyes move across the street. Gerald, Richard, Sandra. They made the calls. The word calls lands. Plural. Gerald feels Richard shift beside him. Miles looks directly at Gerald Patterson for the first time. Patterson, right? Gerald Patterson? Gerald blinks. Yes. How do you... Retired from Whitfield Industries, correct? Gerald puffs slightly, pride overriding caution. 30 years. Good company. It is. Miles' voice doesn't waver. I sit on the board, have for 5 years. The color drains from Gerald's face, like someone pulled a plug. Miles continues, almost gentle. You have a son there, don't you? Brian Patterson? Middle management? Gerald can barely speak. How do you... Small company, Mr. Patterson. I know most of the leadership team. A pause. And their families. Gerald's brain is spinning. Board member, son's company, pension fund. Everything connected, everything vulnerable. Miles offers a small, terrible smile. Small world. Richard Thornton heard everything. His face has gone gray. He made the second call. His name is on the record. His voice is on the recording. He takes a step backward, then another. Then he's walking fast toward his house, pretending he was never there. Sandra Wells is already gone, speed walking down the sidewalk, phone pressed to her ear, playing innocent. The coalition dissolves in seconds. Miles turns back to the officers. Just so you know, my Ring doorbell recorded this entire incident, audio and video, 4K. Morrison nods. Understood, sir. Gerald feels his stomach drop. Everything documented, everything permanent. Trevor Hayes' live stream has hit 15,000 viewers. Comments flood. Who is this guy? Gerald is done. The way that old dude's face just fell. Miles straightens his tie, brushes invisible dust from his sleeve. Mr. Patterson, I'm going to go inside now. Hug my daughter when she gets home. Have dinner with my family, in my house, that I own, next to the car, that I own. He pauses. You have a good evening. The door closes. Soft click. Gerald Patterson stands alone on his perfect lawn. The police cruisers pull away. One officer glances back through the window, not with respect, with disgust. Richard is gone. Sandra is gone. The neighbors who gathered have melted behind curtains. Gerald looks down at his phone, the same phone he held 5 minutes ago, so certain, so righteous, dialing 911 to protect his community. His hand is shaking. He walks back to his house on legs that don't feel like his own, opens the door, steps inside. Barbara looks up from the kitchen. Gerald, what happened? I saw the police. Gerald doesn't answer, can't answer. He closes the door, leans against it, slides down until he's sitting on his own floor. The phone in his hand feels like a weapon, a grenade he already threw. And Gerald Patterson feels it, the regret, instant, total, crushing. Not because he's sorry for what he did, not yet. That understanding will come later, because he's sorry he got caught. Sorry the man he targeted turned out to matter. Sorry he didn't get away with it this time. 31 years of watching this neighborhood, 31 years of deciding who belongs. And in one phone call, Gerald Patterson has become the one who doesn't belong. He knows it. He feels it in his chest, in his stomach, in the shaking that won't stop. The regret is instant. The consequences will take 14 days to fully arrive. But sitting on his floor, staring at nothing, Gerald already understands. He's lost everything. He just doesn't know how much everything means yet. By morning, 14 million people will see what Gerald Patterson did. By Tuesday, his neighbors will stop returning his calls. And by the end of the week, his own son will denounce him publicly. The videos hit the internet within hours. Miles Harrison posts the Ring doorbell footage to Twitter at 9:47 p.m. No commentary, no hashtags. Just, this is what happened in my driveway today. 4K resolution. Perfect audio. Gerald's face clearly visible. Sandra's voice carrying across the street. That's not his car! The police shifting from aggressive to apologetic in real time. By midnight, 2 million views. Trevor Hayes' live stream archives separately. He captured the incident from a different angle. Gerald's confident approach, the conversation Miles couldn't hear, the moment Gerald's face crumbled. 50,000 people watched it live. By morning, the archived version passes 3 million. 2 angles, 1 story, no room for doubt. The internet does what the internet does. By 6 a.m. Sunday, Gerald Patterson has been identified. Full name, address, employment history. LinkedIn profile screenshotted before he can delete it. Retired from Whitfield Industries, 30 years. Someone cross-references. Finds Brian Patterson, middle manager, Whitfield Industries, 8 years. Finds Miles Harrison, board member, Whitfield Industries, 5 years. The connection clicks. A Twitter thread goes viral. Gerald Patterson retired from Whitfield. His son works there. Miles Harrison sits on the board. This man just called cops on his son's boss's boss. 100,000 retweets. Richard Thornton is identified next. Sales VP at Kendrick Technologies. 25 years with the company. Second 911 caller. Voice on the recording. Sandra Wells, local realtor. Her Zillow profile surfaces. Her face in the video, yelling accusations. By noon Sunday, all 3 names trend in Georgia. By evening, nationally. Hashtag Briarwood Karen. Hashtag Justice for Miles. Hashtag 3 calls, 3 lives. Gerald deletes his Facebook. Too late. Screenshots everywhere. His last post before deletion. I was trying to protect the neighborhood. Comment section. 1,400 responses. None sympathetic. Richard Thornton goes private on all platforms. His company's HR department is already fielding calls. Sandra Wells' real estate website crashes from traffic. Her Google reviews, previously 4.8 stars, plummet as new entries flood in. Miles Harrison posts one brief statement. "I'm grateful no one was hurt. I hope this becomes a learning moment for everyone involved." Measured, gracious, no demands for blood, no threats. It makes him more sympathetic. It makes the three neighbors look worse. Local news picks up the story Sunday evening. Dana Crawford, investigative reporter for the NBC affiliate, leads with it. Briarwood man calls police on neighbor, discovers he's major police donor. The donor angle lands hard. $500,000 to law enforcement, youth programs, community centers, and still, hands on holsters, ordered to the ground. What chance does anyone else have? National outlets circle by Monday morning. CNN requests an interview. MSNBC reaches out. Fox attempts a both sides angle that satisfies no one. Gerald Patterson hasn't left his house since Saturday. Curtains drawn, phone ringing constantly. He doesn't answer. Barbara moves into the guest bedroom Sunday night. She doesn't explain, doesn't need to. Richard Thornton's wife calls him a liability. He sleeps on the couch. Sandra Wells cancels 3 showings. Buyers are concerned about the publicity. 3 phone calls, 3 lives unraveling. And the internet isn't done digging, not even close. Someone files an expedited FOIA request for Gerald Patterson's complete 911 call history, public record, available within days. Someone else starts researching Briarwood police response times, patterns, priorities. The machinery of accountability has engaged. It doesn't stop. It doesn't sleep. On Tuesday morning, Richard Thornton's boss calls a meeting. On Wednesday, Sandra Wells loses her biggest client. And on Thursday, someone finds a 2-year-old news story that changes everything. Richard Thornton walks into his office Tuesday morning believing he can survive this. He's been with Kendrick Technologies for 25 years. VP of sales. Excellent numbers. One mistake shouldn't erase that. His boss, the chief revenue officer, is already waiting in the conference room. "Richard, sit down." HR is there. Legal is there. The energy in the room is terminal. "We've seen the video," the CRO says. "We've heard the 911 call." Richard opens his mouth. "I can explain. You identified yourself as confirming the first caller. You said, and I quote, 'definitely doesn't look right,' about a man standing in his own driveway." Gerald said, "You're a vice president at this company, Richard. You represent our brand. Do you understand the calls we've received since Sunday?" Richard doesn't answer. He knows. "Clients are asking if we support racial profiling. Partners are distancing. Our diversity and inclusion team has been in crisis meetings for 48 hours. The HR director slides a document across the table. Termination, effective immediately. Conduct unbecoming of company values. Richard stares at the paper. 25 years. Corner office. Stock options. All of it. Gone. You'll be escorted out. Your personal items will be shipped. 45 minutes later, Richard Thornton stands in the parking lot holding a cardboard box. Security badge surrendered. Email access revoked. 25 years. Ended in 25 hours. Across town, Sandra Wells answers her phone. "Hi, Sandra, this is Jennifer Morrison. We were scheduled to look at properties this week." Sandra forces brightness into her voice. "Jennifer, yes, I have 3 wonderful listings ready for... We've decided to go with another agent." Pause. "May I ask why?" "We saw the video, Sandra. The things you said, we wouldn't feel comfortable." Click. Second call, same result. Third call. "We're going in a different direction." By Wednesday evening, Sandra has lost 5 clients and 2 pending sales. Combined commission, roughly $60,000. Evaporated. Her Zillow reviews continue to plummet. New entries appear hourly. Would Sandra call the cops on black families viewing houses? Not worth the risk. 1 star. How can we trust her judgment when she couldn't even recognize her own neighbor? 1 star. Saw the video, saw her face, heard her voice, never using her. 1 star. Sandra stops checking her reviews. The damage is done. Gerald Patterson's reckoning arrives via certified mail. Wednesday afternoon. The envelope bears the logo of Whitfield Industries Pension Administration. His hands shake opening it. Dear Mr. Patterson, it has come to our attention that your recent conduct may constitute a violation of the Pension Fund's Standards of Conduct Clause. Your benefits are hereby suspended pending a formal review. You will be contacted within 30 days regarding the investigation process. Gerald reads it 3 times. The words don't change. His pension, frozen. The money he worked 30 years to earn, locked. He calls the pension office. Automated system, no humans available, leave a message. He calls his old HR contact at Whitfield. She answers, but her voice is cold. Gerald, I don't know what to tell you. You called the police on a board member. What did you expect would happen? I didn't know. You didn't ask. That's the problem. She hangs up. Gerald sits alone in his kitchen. No income, no pension, no answers. Barbara appears in the doorway. She's been watching, listening. Who was that? Whitfield. They've frozen my pension. Barbara closes her eyes, takes a breath. Gerald, what have you done to us? He has no answer. That evening, Brian Patterson calls. Gerald's son, the one still employed at Whitfield. For now. Dad. Brian's voice is tight, controlled, barely. Son, listen, I can explain. Explain what? Explain how you called the cops on a man who sits on my company's board? Explain how my co-workers are asking if I'm related to that Gerald Patterson? Explain how I can't get a meeting with my own supervisor anymore. Brian, I didn't know who he was. You didn't care who he was. You saw a black man with an expensive car and you assumed. And now everyone at Whitfield knows. Everyone knows my father is the guy from the video. Silence on the line. Dad, do you understand what this could do to me? I've worked here 8 years. 8 years of building relationships, building trust. And now I'm toxic. People cross the hallway to avoid me. Miles Harrison won't. It doesn't matter what he does or doesn't do. The damage is done. By you. Brian takes a ragged breath. I have to go. Don't call me for a while. I need to figure out how to survive this. Click. Gerald sets the phone down slowly. His son, his only son, won't speak to him. The house feels enormous, empty. Barbara has retreated upstairs. The television is off. No noise, just the clock ticking. Gerald Patterson made 1 phone call to protect his community. In 4 days, he's lost his pension security, his neighbors' respect, his wife's trust, his son's love. And he still doesn't fully understand why. He still thinks he was right to call, still thinks he was being careful, still thinks anyone would have done the same. But somewhere, beneath the justifications, beneath the denials, a small voice whispers, "You knew what you were doing. You knew exactly what you were doing." He pushes it down. He's not ready to hear it yet. Miles Harrison, meanwhile, eats dinner with his family Wednesday night. Camille made his favorite. Grilled salmon, roasted vegetables. Zoe chatters about summer camp. Normal evening, normal life. What's happening to them? Camille asks quietly after Zoe leaves the table. Consequences, Miles says. Do you feel bad? Miles considers the question, really considers it. I didn't make any calls, didn't demand any firings, didn't ask the pension office to investigate. He sets down his fork. I just existed in my own driveway. Everything that's happening to them, they did to themselves. Camille nods slowly. And the son? Brian? If he does good work, he'll be fine. I'm not in the business of punishing people for their parents' sins. Miles pauses. Gerald is. That's the difference. Outside, the Georgia evening settles warm and quiet over Briarwood Estates. Sprinklers hiss. Birds settle into trees. The neighborhood looks exactly as it always has. But something has shifted. Something permanent. And the internet still isn't done digging. Gerald Patterson made 1 phone call. In 4 days, he lost his pension, his son's respect, and his wife's trust. If you've ever watched karma work in real time, you know this feeling. Drop a comment below and keep watching. Because Thursday morning, someone finds a story from 2 years ago. A story about a 19-year-old kid. A story that changes everything. A Twitter user posts a link at 7:23 a.m. Thursday. A local news article from September 2022. Headline: Briarwood teen shot by police after 911 call. The caller's name was never released. Until now. The link spreads through Twitter like fire through dry grass. Local news story. September 2022. Briarwood teen shot by police after 911 call. Investigation finds no wrongdoing. A 19-year-old named Deshaun Carter, waiting for an Uber after a tutoring session. Standing on a street corner 2 blocks from Gerald Patterson's house, someone called 911. Suspicious teenager, acting nervous, might be casing houses. Police arrived. Deshaun, who has a documented anxiety disorder, panicked. He ran. Officer fired. 2 rounds, back and leg. Deshaun Carter survived. Barely. T10 spinal injury. Complete paralysis below the waist. Permanent. The original article didn't name the caller. Privacy protections. Standard procedure. But the internet has no privacy protections. And the internet has Gerald Patterson's 911 call history now. Someone cross-references dates. September 2022. Gerald made a call. Someone cross-references locations. 2 blocks from Gerald's house. Someone cross-references language. Suspicious. Nervous. Casing. The same words, the same assumptions, the same caller. Gerald Patterson's call put a 19-year-old in a wheelchair, and nothing happened to him. The story explodes. Hashtag Justice for Miles becomes hashtag Justice for Deshaun. The narrative expands. Dana Crawford, the investigative reporter, has been working this angle for days. She confirms the connection Thursday afternoon. I can now report that the same 911 caller, Gerald Patterson, made the call that led to the 2022 shooting of Deshaun Carter. Patterson has made 7 calls about suspicious individuals over 3 years. All 7 calls were about black people. 0 resulted in actual crimes. 1 resulted in a young man losing the ability to walk. 7 calls, 7 black people, 0 crimes, 1 wheelchair. Deshaun Carter agrees to an interview. From his wheelchair in the small apartment he shares with his mother. I was 19, he says. His voice is steady, but his hands grip the armrests tight. I was waiting for my ride home from tutoring. SAT prep. I was trying to get into college. He pauses. Now I'll never walk again. And until this week, I didn't even know who called. I didn't know his name. I didn't know he was still out there, watching, calling, waiting for the next person who doesn't fit. Gloria Carter, Deshaun's mother, sits beside him. She hasn't spoken publicly in 2 years. She speaks now. My son had a full scholarship to Georgia State. Engineering. Gone. We've got $300,000 in medical debt. I work 2 jobs. He needs care I can't afford. She looks directly into the camera. And Gerald Patterson? He went home to his nice house and his nice pension and kept calling the police on people. For 2 more years, until he finally picked the wrong person. Miles Harrison sees the interview. He contacts Deshaun through his attorney, offers to help cover legal costs, offers to connect him with resources. Deshaun's response: all I wanted was for someone to care, someone to see me. Thank you for seeing me. Miles: people see you now. A lot of people. The FOIA results arrive Friday. Gerald Patterson's complete 911 call history. 7 calls. The pattern is undeniable. March 2022. Suspicious vehicle. Black delivery driver. No crime. September 2022. Suspicious teenager. Deshaun Carter. Shot. September 2022. Possible break-in. Curtis Webb, black contractor checking a wrong address. Detained 20 minutes. No crime. April 2023. Unfamiliar person. Denise Foster, black real estate agent showing a house. Questioned. No crime. January 2024. Loitering. Black teenager waiting for his mother. No crime. June 2024. Suspicious activity. Black landscaping crew. Working. No crime. July 2024. Miles Harrison. Own driveway. Own car. Own house. 7 calls. All black individuals. 0 crimes. 1 shattered spine. 1 destroyed family. 1 man who kept calling anyway. Gerald Patterson's attorney releases a statement Friday evening. Mr. Patterson exercised his right as a citizen to report concerns to law enforcement. The decisions made by police officers are not his responsibility. He maintains that he acted in good faith to protect his community. The statement convinces no one. CNN picks up the story. MSNBC runs a segment. Even Fox can't find a sympathetic angle. Curtis Webb comes forward. He reported me in 2022. I was checking an address for a job. Wrong house. Honest mistake. I was detained for 20 minutes while they verified my contractor's license. Denise Foster comes forward. He followed me while I showed a house. Called me suspicious for doing my job. I lost that client. 3 voices, then 4, then 5. Gerald Patterson isn't one angry neighbor. He's a pattern, a system of one. And now everyone knows. Gerald Patterson decides to fight back. He hires an attorney, files a countersuit, claims he's the real victim here. He has no idea how badly this will fail. Gerald Patterson still believes he can win. He hires Charles Whitmore, a defense attorney with experience in defamation cases. Whitmore is expensive. Gerald uses savings he was protecting for emergencies. This qualifies. The strategy: countersue, claim harassment, claim defamation, paint Gerald as the victim of an online mob. The press release goes out Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after the incident. Gerald Patterson is a victim of coordinated online harassment and false accusations. He exercised his constitutional right to report suspicious activity to law enforcement. The resulting media frenzy has destroyed his reputation through lies and distortion. Legal action will be pursued against all parties responsible. Gerald feels good about this. Finally fighting back. Finally standing up for himself. The reaction is immediate and brutal. Legal experts appear on cable news within hours. Defamation requires falsehood. Everything circulating online is true. There's video, there's audio, there are 9/11 recordings. This lawsuit is dead on arrival. You cannot defame someone with their own words. This is a desperate move that will only draw more attention to Mr. Patterson's conduct. The internet responds with mockery. Screenshots of the press release become memes. Gerald Patterson claims he's the victim, trends for 6 hours. More victims surface. A housekeeper. He reported me in 2021 for looking suspicious while I waited for my employer to come home. A jogger. He called me unfamiliar for running through the neighborhood. I've lived here longer than he has. Each story adds to the pattern. Each voice makes Gerald smaller. By Sunday, Charles Whitmore calls a meeting. Gerald, we need to talk about reality. What reality? The reality that this lawsuit will not succeed. The reality that pursuing it will keep your name in the news for months. The reality that every day this continues, more people will come forward. Gerald shakes his head. I'm not giving up. I'm not admitting I did anything wrong. You don't have to admit anything. You just have to stop making it worse. So what do I do? Whitmore sighs. Honestly, I don't have a good answer. The video exists. The calls exist. The pattern exists. No jury will side with you. No judge will entertain this. He pauses. Have you considered selling the house? Moving somewhere fresh? Gerald stares at him. I've lived here 31 years, and in 1 week, you've undone all of it. That's the reality, Gerald. I'm sorry. Gerald returns home to an empty feeling. Barbara has said barely 10 words to him since Monday. She sleeps in the guest room, eats alone, avoids his eyes. Saturday night, she sits him down. Gerald, I've stood by you for 35 years, through everything, but I cannot stand by this. Barbara, that video, those calls, that boy in the wheelchair. Her voice breaks slightly. I didn't marry a man who does this. Gerald reaches for her hand. She pulls away. Fix this, find a way, or I'm leaving. She walks upstairs. The door closes. Gerald sits alone in the living room. No television, no phone, just silence and the slow understanding that everything he built is crumbling. And he still doesn't fully believe he deserved it. Gerald Patterson hired a lawyer, filed a countersuit, called himself the victim. It lasted 4 days before his own attorney told him to give up. If you've ever watched someone dig their hole deeper, you know this feeling. Stay with me, because the worst call Gerald will receive isn't from his attorney, it's from his son. Monday morning, Gerald's phone rings. Brian's name on the screen. But this isn't a conversation. It's a goodbye. Brian Patterson calls Monday morning, day 10 since the incident. His voice sounds nothing like Gerald's son. Dad, I need you to listen. Brian, what's happening? I've been put on performance review, effective immediately. Gerald's stomach drops. What? You've had excellent reviews for 8 years. 8 years of excellent reviews. And suddenly, Friday afternoon, HR calls me in. Concerns about my continued fit with company culture. That's the phrase they used. That's because of me? Of course it's because of you! Brian's voice cracks. Everyone at Whitfield knows. Everyone saw the video. Everyone knows my father called the cops on a board member. But Miles Harrison... It doesn't matter what he does or doesn't do. I'm toxic by association. People don't return my emails. My own team avoids eye contact. I'm being pushed out, Dad. Slowly, quietly, professionally. Gerald grips the phone. I'll call someone. I'll explain. Explain what? That you didn't know who he was? That you only profile strangers, not important people? Brian laughs bitterly. There's nothing to explain, Dad. There's just damage. Silence on the line. I've been thinking about this all weekend, Brian continues. About what to do. About how to survive. Brian, I never meant... I know what you meant, Dad. That's the problem. You meant exactly what you did. You saw a black man who looked too successful, and you decided he didn't belong. You've been doing it for years. I just never thought it would come back on me. Gerald has no response. I'm going to release a statement, today, publicly. What kind of statement? One that separates me from you. One that says your views don't represent mine. One that might save my career. Brian, you can't. I have to. I have kids, Dad. I have a mortgage. I can't lose this job because you couldn't mind your own business. Brian takes a breath. Don't call me for a while. Maybe a long while. I need distance. From you. From this. From all of it. Son. Goodbye, Dad. Click. Gerald sits with the dead phone in his hand. His son. His only child. Gone. Brian Patterson's LinkedIn statement posts at noon. My father's actions do not represent my values. I am horrified by what I've seen. I stand with Miles Harrison and Deshaun Carter. I have donated to Deshaun's GoFundMe. What my father did was wrong. I am committed to being better. Gerald reads it 17 times, each word a knife. Barbara shows him the post that evening. Your own son had to denounce you publicly to save his job. I know. Because of you. I know. Do you, Gerald? Do you really understand what you've done? He doesn't answer. The silence stretches. Barbara climbs the stairs to the guest room, doesn't look back. Gerald sits alone. No allies, no defenders, no son. One phone call. Everything lost. Tuesday morning, Barbara takes her rings off, sets them on the kitchen counter, and starts making phone calls of her own. The separation filing appears in Fulton County records Tuesday afternoon. Public record, easily searchable. Barbara Patterson versus Gerald Patterson. Irreconcilable differences. 35 years of marriage. ended with a document and a filing fee. Gerald learns about it from a news alert, not from his wife, from a reporter who found the filing before he did. Barbara releases a statement through her attorney. I loved Gerald for 35 years, but the man in those videos is not the man I married. I cannot in good conscience remain associated with someone who has caused such profound harm to so many people. I stand with the victims of my husband's actions, including Deshaun Carter, to whom I have personally apologized and offered support. Gerald reads his wife's public denunciation from the kitchen table where they ate 35 years of breakfast together. The kitchen that feels like a museum now. Artifacts of a life that no longer exists. Barbara took most of her things Monday night while Gerald sat frozen in the living room. She didn't explain, didn't argue, just packed boxes and loaded her car and drove to her sister's house without a word. The house echoes. Gerald hasn't shaved in 4 days. Same clothes for 3. The takeout containers pile up because delivery drivers know this address now. They leave food at the curb. Don't ring the bell. He doesn't blame them. Richard Thornton won't return calls. Not that Gerald has tried many times. He knows Richard blames him. Rightly so. Sandra Wells has moved temporarily to her daughter's house across town. Her real estate business is effectively dead. She's considering a career change. She's definitely considering a lawsuit against Gerald. The neighborhood has rendered its verdict. Neighbors who smiled for 31 years now cross the street to avoid Gerald's house. The HOA president sent a terse email about conduct standards and community values. Children are told not to ride bikes past his driveway. Gerald Patterson, who spent 31 years deciding who belonged in Briarwood Estates, has been declared an outsider. The irony is perfect and lost on no one. Meanwhile, Deshaun Carter's GoFundMe passes $300,000, enough to cover his medical debt, enough to hire a full-time care aide, enough to imagine a future again. Brian Patterson's $500 donation is listed publicly. Brian Patterson, who doesn't answer his father's calls. Miles Harrison donated too, anonymously. But people figured it out, because of course they did. Miles Harrison still lives in his house, still drives his Cullinan, still waves to neighbors who wave back, more enthusiastically now. He's become a symbol, not by choice, by circumstance. Wednesday evening, the HOA president sends another email to everyone. Emergency HOA meeting, Thursday 7 p.m., Community Center. Agenda, membership review and community standards. Everyone knows what this means. Everyone knows whose membership is under review. Gerald reads the email on his phone, alone in his empty kitchen, his empty house, his empty life. Thursday night. The community that he protected for 31 years will vote on whether he still belongs. He already knows the answer. He's known since Saturday, since he sat on his floor and felt the regret crash over him. But tomorrow, it becomes official. Tomorrow, Briarwood Estates makes it unanimous. Thursday, 7 p.m. Grant Patterson walks into the community center alone. 89 chairs, 89 neighbors, 89 people who used to respect him. Not anymore. The Briarwood Estates Community Center normally hosts 20 people for HOA meetings. Bored retirees, concerned moms. Gerald himself, always in the front row. Tonight, 89 chairs, all occupied, standing room only. Gerald enters at 6:58 p.m., alone. Barbara isn't there. Brian isn't there. Richard didn't show, too ashamed. Sandra stayed away, too broken. Gerald walks to an empty seat in the front row, the same seat he's occupied for 3 decades. Tonight, it feels like a defendant's chair. Every head turns, every conversation stops. Trevor Hayes stands in the back corner, phone held low, streaming, because of course he is. The HOA president calls the meeting to order. We're here tonight to discuss community standards and membership review. This pertains to resident Gerald Patterson. She pauses. Mr. Patterson, would you like to address the community? Gerald stands. His legs shake but hold. I've lived here 31 years, given my life to this neighborhood, to protecting all of you. He pauses, struggles. I made a mistake. I see that now, but I was trying to help. I was trying to keep us safe. A voice from the back. Safe from what, Gerald? Another voice. Deshaun Carter was 19. Another. You destroyed Richard's career. The president bangs her gavel. Order, please. Gerald shrinks. I'm sorry. I'm asking for understanding, for forgiveness, for another chance. Silence. No one offers what he's asking for. Miles Harrison stands from the back row. The room goes absolutely still. I didn't come here for revenge. I came because I live here. My family lives here. He walks forward slowly, measured steps. Gerald Patterson didn't just call the police on me. He made 7 calls over 3 years, all about black people. One of them, Deshaun Carter, will never walk again. Miles stops, looks around the room. I'm not asking for his head. I'm asking this community a question. What do we stand for? Who belongs here? And who gets to decide? He returns to his seat, says nothing more. The president reads a letter. Deshaun Carter wrote it. Couldn't attend in person. I'm 21 years old. I'll never walk again because a man decided I didn't belong on a sidewalk. I don't want Gerald Patterson to suffer. I want him to understand. I lived here too. My grandmother lives 2 streets over. I was going home, and now home is a wheelchair. Please make sure no one else has to become me. Someone is crying softly. Several people. The president clears her throat. Motion on the floor. Remove Gerald Patterson from all HOA positions and recommend he seek alternative living arrangements. Pause. All in favor? Every hand rises. 89 hands. Every single person. Opposed? Silence. Not a single hand. The motion passes unanimously. Gerald stands. No one meets his eyes. He walks to the exit, passes 89 neighbors, passes 31 years. Outside, the night air is warm, Georgia summer, familiar, but nothing feels familiar anymore. By Friday morning, a "For Sale" sign appears on Gerald Patterson's lawn. The realtor? Not Sandra Wells. The "For Sale" sign goes up Friday, priced below market. Gerald needs it gone fast. The buyer, 3 weeks later, a black family from Macon. 3 kids, golden retriever. The father is an engineer, the mother teaches middle school. The irony requires no explanation. Gerald moves to Florida, lives with his sister temporarily, plans uncertain, future unclear. Richard Thornton finds work eventually. Different state, lower position, smaller life. Sandra Wells pivots to property management, leaves real estate, leaves Briarwood, leaves Georgia. 3 neighbors, 3 destroyed lives. 1 phone call that started it all. Deshaun Carter uses his GoFundMe for medical care, a specialized wheelchair, and a scholarship fund for students with disabilities. He speaks at community events now. Something good came from something terrible. Barbara Patterson's divorce finalizes 6 months later. She keeps her dignity. Gerald keeps his regret. Brian Patterson survives at Whitfield, transferred to a different division, distant from his father. Perhaps forever. And Miles Harrison? He pulls into his driveway on a Saturday afternoon. The Cullinan catches the Georgia sun. Zoe runs out to meet him. Daddy's home! He lifts her, holds her, looks across the street. The new family waves. He waves back. No sirens, no suspicion, no fear. Just home. Finally, just home. 3 neighbors made one choice. They thought they were protecting something. They were only exposing themselves. Karma doesn't always wait for courtrooms. Sometimes it arrives in 4K, with good audio and a 14-day countdown. If you've ever been judged before you spoke, or watched someone learn exactly who they messed with, drop a comment below. What would you do if this happened in your neighborhood? Subscribe for more stories where karma delivers. Share this video, because somewhere right now, another Gerald Patterson is watching from his window. Make sure he knows what's coming.